Welcome back to Forum Daily News. I'm Wyatt Sharpe, and this is your U.S. election tracker. Well, a recent vote at the United Nations calling for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas has stirred up a lot of discussion. And of course, only adding to that discussion is the United States' call to abstain. And joining me now to discuss what we should make of all of this, the impact that it will have on the U.S. election, is independent journalist, the host of Jackson Gosnell Live, Jackson Gosnell. Jackson, a pleasure to have you with us.
Yeah, it's good to be with you, Wyatt. Thanks.
Of course. So perhaps let's just start out here because, of course, there are a number of members within the House Democratic Conference who have not only openly called for a ceasefire, but it seems are openly anti-Israel at a time when President Biden seems kind of reluctant to take a definitive stance. How much is this kind of reluctancy, again, to take a stance going to perhaps play a negative role for him, a more challenging role as we advance forward and near closer to November?
Well, look, Wyatt, the Jewish community in the United States is not very happy with the Democrats right now. You have all these lawmakers going on television and various places making statements, and what they're saying is really contrary to what most Jewish people want in this country who are pro-Israel. Israel is one of our biggest allies, and so for us to be questioning what they're doing is not welcomed by many people here in the United States. There's growing outrage. There's always protesters on both sides of this issue. There are ceasefire protesters that continue to interrupt political events throughout the country, especially when the president is speaking. But overwhelmingly, I would say the Jewish community in the United States is not very happy. They want to support Israel and stand with them, whatever they do, and not question them.
And so let me ask you from kind of the other perspective as it relates to Donald Trump. He, I guess, has the advantage of most Republicans at least being pro-Israel. But President Trump has also made the claim that he could end not only the war in Israel, but also the war in Ukraine on day one. How much will all of that play a role in the upcoming election?
Well, I think Americans are getting tired of being in these wars and being involved with them, and they want to stop sending money and resources. I can't speak for everybody, but that's just what I'm seeing in South Carolina and as I've traveled the country in recent weeks. And people are just simply tired of handing all their resources to wars that just continue to go on and on and on. And for President Trump to say that he can get these wars fixed in a matter of days, weeks, hours, whatever the case, I think many Americans are welcoming that. They see these going on. They say it's been too long. It certainly has. And so I think a lot of Americans are open to seeing what could happen under his watch again. People know life under Trump. They know life under Biden. The polls suggest that they like life under Trump better.
Well, let me ask you about Chuck Schumer, of course, the Senate Minority Leader, because he openly called on the floor of the Senate for new elections in Israel, which many Democrats are kind of backpedaling on, saying that he was just, stepping up for democracy. But many people taking that as a sign that he's essentially calling on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel to step down, to resign. How much do you think this could perhaps implicate and further tensions between the U.S. and Israel, again, at a time when it seems many American officials are hesitant to take a definitive stance here?
Well, look, the pro-Israel community is outraged by this, as they should be. I mean, we have the United States telling another country who's at war what to do, especially the Chuck Schumer. He's not the president. He's somebody who just gives advice. And frankly, his advice was not welcomed by anyone that I heard. Maybe it was, but it's certainly not the message that was overwhelmingly put out as a result of his statement. And so I think it's kind of a disgrace for him to make those comments. Let them handle what they've got to handle. We should not be getting involved in their decision-making processes. And for him to question Netanyahu is just a little bit outrageous.
And just lastly here, because of course geopolitics is going to play a bigger and bigger kind of role in the election, again, whether it be Israel, Ukraine. Last week on the show, we heard from the former Prime Minister of Estonia, who was issuing warning signs, essentially. He said that he has met with every American president in recent history, with the exception of former President Trump. What do you make of kind of the reluctancy from some of those leaders and decision makers who are directly kind of connected to these circles, who are openly, scared and in many cases criticizing President Trump?
Well, President Trump's going to be criticized regardless, and so is President Biden. Regardless what they say, there's going to be criticism. It's an election. That's the nature of an election. And so I think you have to take that criticism and then really look at the big picture in addition to that, because everyone's going to be throwing stones at each other in an election cycle. So I can't really speak to the specifics of that question, but what I can tell you is it's not out of the ordinary for sparks to be flying at everyone during a time such as this.
All right, we'll leave it there. Jackson Gosnell, thank you so much.